Yes, a lovely good evening and welcome to Camnet TV Main News. To present, my name is Jeffrey Siambo. Top stories in the news tonight. President Edgar Lungu criticized for his MTENDERE Township tour amid COVID-19. Court orders HH to make progress in his treason against Attorney General or have the matter dismissed. 16-year-old boy forced to marry a 16-year-old girl calls for help. And in international news, Haiti police blame US and Colombian suspects in president's slaying. And in sports news, soccer fans in Lusaka call for the dismissal of CHIPOLOPOLO coach after a 2-1 loss against Lesotho.
Camnet TV is here to entertain, educate and inform you. Catch Rise and Thrive at 07:30 hours every Saturday. Fresh and new praise and worship comes Monday to Friday at 8 hours. Kids need to be glued to the TV every weekday at 09 hours for their favorite cartoons. Off the pitch with the boys as they talk about sport on Saturdays at 09:30 hours.
Remember, we are also here to entertain you with our different varieties of movies every weekday at 10 hours. Join Pastor Victoria and Moses Chuluwa with Healing Word Ministries International Church live sermon every Sunday at 10 hours.
Katamanda brings to you another journey of gospel ministers on Saturdays at 10:30 hours. The verdict comes to your screens at 17:45 hours. Join the Revival Harvest Church every Sunday at 18:30 hours.
Every Monday to Saturday, join us on the news desk at 12 hours as we bring to you the midday news, and at 19:30 hours Central African time every day for the main bulletin.
The ministry with Pastor Moses Chuluwa comes every Friday at 20:45 hours. On Mondays, it's your favorite national matters at 20:45 hours.
Wednesday and Thursday, Pastor Victoria and Moses Chuluwa are on Partnership of Greatness with different spiritual teachings at 20:45 hours.
And Frank on Camnet comes to your screen every Tuesday at 20:45 hours.
Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Hello once again, another news in detail. The commencement of the second round of the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccination has been characterized by long queues. A check by a Camnet TV news crew around Lusaka found most centers filled with many people from all walks of life, bracing the long queues and waiting patiently to get vaccinated. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Health, through its Permanent Secretary Technical Services, Dr. Kennedy Malama, says it remains committed to ensuring that oxygen is readily available in order to meet the demand. We have details in the following report.
A year on since the onset of the pandemic and so far 3 waves experienced, the country has seen definite differences with each subsequent wave, each being more severe than the last. In efforts to curb the pandemic, the Ministry of Health has started the second administration of dose 1 of the AstraZeneca vaccine, as it remains a critical tool in response to confer a level of protection on people against severe illness, hospitalization, and even death. A check by a Camnet TV news crew in various designated vaccination centers found long queues of people waiting to be vaccinated and seemingly anxious, with some urging others to tag along as they have understood the importance of being vaccinated.
Prevention is better than kwembekeza tudwale. Then ukadwala pachakula chababa. Who knows, maybe sakumka ulozako. Kwembekeza tinizakaenda uzaenda liti. So time ni mangi. So once bamene bambera kumbera mbera babantu osambera kumbera mbera babantu, because health is very important. Health ndio weka umune wako.
To the general public out there that indeed they need to come in numbers. At the same time, this is not the time to sacrifice the 5 golden rules. We need to be in line with the 5 golden rules. We need to watch that space, wash the hand, avoid crowded places. This is the way to go. And as HPCZ also, we want to emphasize and echo the statement by the PS that we are at war with COVID-19. So no one is safe until we are all safe. And this is the more reason why we need to come in numbers and up our sleeves and join the many people who are getting vaccinated.
Meanwhile, the Ministry of Health, through its Permanent Secretary, says it remains committed to ensuring that oxygen is readily available in order to meet the demand.
And looking at the way COVID-19 has taught us, you don't need to depend on one technology. I think you need to have multiple, even as backup. Because a hospital like UTH, 11 now, if there's anything which shouldn't run out, it's oxygen. Again, you know the limitations of an oxygen plant, it can fail, especially when you overload it. So what you've taught us here, I think we'll go and explore and see.
So far, in the last 24 hours, 1,949 new confirmed COVID-19 cases out of 8,473 tests conducted, with 64 new COVID-19 related deaths. The Ministry of Health is, however, optimistic that the COVID-19 situation in the country will soon be brought under control soon as they continue ramping up the preventive interventions in the communities coupled with the vaccination against the COVID-19. Liseli Kanyanga Mubanga, Camnet TV News in Lusaka.
The National Union of Public and Private Educators of Zambia, NUPEZ, has given government a 3-day ultimatum to begin paying teachers their emoluments, failure to which the union would take action. NUPEZ Executive President Victor Muyumba says it is expected that the Ministry of General Education pays all teachers at least by the 12th of July 2021. Mr. Muyumba has revealed that government is owing teachers arrears amounting to about 500 million kwacha, which was supposed to be paid by the 21st of June 2021 as agreed, but that the ministry has not fulfilled its promise. Camnet News has since reached out to Ministry of General Education Permanent Secretary Jobix Kalumba through a press query, as various calls to get the position of the ministry on issues raised went unresponded to by broadcast time.
The National Union of Public and Private Educators of Zambia, NUPEZ, has called on government to prioritize the welfare of teachers, even as it seeks to promote quality education in the country. Victor Muyumba, who is NUPEZ Executive President, says teachers today have more questions than answers to the issues affecting them. He has cited the delay in payments of debt emoluments, saying it was agreed with the Ministry of General Education that payments for the same would be done by 21st June 2021, but that nothing has been done. The NUPEZ Executive President explains that about 500 million kwacha is owed to the teachers in payment of personal emoluments. He has since given the Ministry of General Education 12th July 2021 as the date to begin payments for the same, failure to which the union will take action, which will be announced on the same date.
But when you dialogue and agree, dialogue thereafter is a sheer waste of time, because we have other things to do. So we hereby call upon Ministry of General Education in liaison with Ministry of Finance to immediately pay these arrears, and we give them the week starting 12th July 2021, which is next week. We would want these arrears to be paid starting next week, and there shouldn't be further delay. We have other things that we are supposed to be talking about and not the same thing. We are going to hold Ministry of Education and Ministry of Finance accountable for the delay payments. If next week our members are not receiving, we'll take action.
The NUPEZ Executive President has also raised concerns over delayed salary upgrades, saying people who upgraded their qualifications years ago are still being paid as diploma holders. Mr. Muyumba has also called on government to consider debt swap in order to relieve teachers from their debt burdens.
The union has been involved in terms of collecting data to this effect, so that those that have furthered their education, those that have attained higher qualifications, can be placed in correct salary scales. Because it will interest you, members of the press, to know that most of our teachers that could have been employed as certificate or diploma holders have furthered their education. They have acquired higher qualifications such as first degrees, even masters, but have remained in the salary scales they were employed in. They have remained as diploma holders on payroll.
Ministry of General Education Permanent Secretary Jobix Kalumba, however, did not respond to various calls made in order to get a response from the ministry over matters raised by broadcast time. Camnet News has since reached out to the Ministry of General Education through a press query. Zipporah Mushala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
The Opposition People's Alliance for Change, PAC, is disappointed in the head of state for conducting a door-to-door campaign in Lusaka's MTENDERE compound despite the directive by the Electoral Commission of Zambia. Friday, President Edgar Lungu toured markets in MTENDERE Township and some parts of Lusaka. PAC has since demanded a level playing field for all political parties participating in the 2021 August 12 polls and note the current situation where only the PF is allowed to campaign. We have details in the following report.
President Edgar Lungu Friday took time to visit some markets in Lusaka, which include Mutendele and Bauleni. As per tradition, the president does not go alone, and of course, people would want to get a glimpse of him. The president has the privilege to go anywhere, at any time. Lucky for him, he is both the sitting president as well as the aspiring presidential candidate in the forthcoming general elections, but his competitors feel it is not fair. Notably, the Electoral Commission of Zambia has banned road shows and rallies, among other modes of campaigning, and in Lusaka, physical interactions have been suspended by the electoral body. But using his title as the head of state, President Edgar Lungu was able to interact with the voters even as masks were being distributed. Others are concerned that the event may contribute to a spike in COVID-19 cases. The People's Alliance for Change, PAC, is concerned that while opposition political parties are being told that campaigns or roadshows have been suspended by the ECZ in view of the COVID-19, the PF, on the other hand, is busy campaigning across the country, thereby disregarding the directives.
Leaders who have agendas to remain in office at the expense of the national interest of saving lives, grouping up in that manner, I think that is very disappointing. And as a political leader, I must say that I'm equally ashamed of how the general populace is viewing us politicians. The irresponsibility. We have closed bars. We have closed the nightclubs. We have closed the schools so that we can, abide by the health regulations as recommended by our own Minister of Health. But if you look at the crowd that was at Mutendere this morning, can you compare it to the people that are found in these small bars that accommodate 10, 15 people?
Mr. Mulao has challenged the ECZ to ensure a level playing field for all political parties participating in the August 12 general elections.
On the other hand, I want to call for, ECZ and the law enforcement officers to provide a level playing field. All of us want to campaign. They need to define for us what it means for door-to-door and what it means, the so-called road shows. Because when we mount speakers on a truck and we are going around to announce, I think that does not amount to a road show.
Patrick Soko, Camnet News.
The Civil Society Constitution Agenda, CISCA, has expressed shock at what it terms as reluctance by the police to summon and interrogate Patriotic Front member Chishimba Kambwili over his hate and tribal campaigns recently. Dr. Kambwili's behavior on the Copper Belt forced the electoral body to suspend him from conducting any political activities, a suspension that only lasted for a week. CISCA chairperson Judith Mulenga says the lifting of the suspension by the ECZ and the apology made by Mr. Kambwili do not erase the offense committed of hate speech against the Tonga people. Mr. Mulenga has therefore called on the police to follow the due process by summoning Mr. Kambwili, interrogating him and hopefully charging him. Ms. Mulenga says despite complaints lodged against Mr. Kambwili at the police service by concerned citizens, one of whom is Tabo Kabwana, media director of the UPND Alliance, on Kambwili's hate speech against a section of the Zambian society, contrary to the provisions of the Penal Code Section 70, Public Order Act Section 13, and the Electoral Code of Conduct as provided for in the Electoral Process Act Section 107, subparagraphs 11 and 15, the police seem very reluctant to prosecute the matter, as noted by their failure to summon Mr. Kambwili. The United Party for National Development, UPND, has advised its general party membership to concentrate on mobilizing the party ahead of the 2021 general elections and ignore any detractors aimed at diverting its national agenda. UPND national spokesperson Cornelius Mweta says the party has an agenda to transform the socio-economic status of the country once in government and will not allow itself to get derailed by individuals with self-centered motives and agenda. Mr. Mweta was commenting on the ECZ lifting of Chimba Kambwili's suspension from all campaign activities for alleged hate and divisive manner of campaigning.
We had initially thought that the suspension would be curative or corrective to the kind of campaign that Honorable Chimba Kambwili was involved in. Very divisive hate speech. We thought that it was supposed to be something that was going to deter him going forward. But on the material day that he was appearing at the Electoral Commission of Zambia, he refused, when he interacted with the media, that he was going to apologize, that he didn't owe anybody any apology over his tribal tirades. And we have seen already today where he has again insisted that he is going to continue to attack the leader of the UPND Alliance.
The Electoral Commission of Zambia, ECZ, has set Monday, the 12th of July 2021 as a date on which to conduct fresh nominations for all vacant seats. ECZ Public Relations Manager Patricia Luhanga says aspiring candidates in the August general elections should lodge completed nomination papers and attested statutory declarations forms before a reputable institution. Ms. Luhanga says aspiring candidates for National Assembly and mayoral elections should take along with them 15 supporters who must be registered voters in the said town. She adds that supporters must have in their possession their green national registration cards and voters' cards, adding that aspiring candidates for the National Assembly election will be required to pay the stipulated non-refundable nomination fee. Meanwhile, Ms. Luhanga says aspiring candidates in the local government ward election should take along with them 9 supporters who must be registered voters in the affected ward. In view of this, the Commission has advised aspiring candidates who may wish to contest in these elections that failure to comply with these requirements shall render the nomination papers null and void. Lusaka High Court Judge Pixie Yangailo has ordered United Party for National Development UPND leader Hakainde Hichilema and 5 others to file new things on the case within 7 days, or she will dismiss the case where they have sued the Attorney General for malicious prosecution and unlawful detention. In this matter, the opposition UPND leader Mr. Hichilema and 5 others have sued the Attorney General for malicious prosecution, unlawful detention, false imprisonment, torture, and other claims arising for their arrest for treason and other trumped-up charges in April 2017. But in the notice of order by Judge Yangailo, it states that the matter shall be dismissed if the plaintiffs do not take the case to another level within 7 days from the date of order, the 1st of July 2021, because from the time the case was filed, there has been no development to an extent the Attorney General has not even filed an answer. In a detailed writ of summons and statement of claim filed into the High Court Principal Registry in Lusaka on the 7th of May 2021, the opposition leader and his colleagues seek compensation for pain, suffering, and other harm suffered by them at the hands of the state during their ordeal. They further alleged that their arrest, detention, and subsequent prosecution was without justifiable cause and that it was malicious. During the 2017 Kuomboka ceremony, Mr. Hichilema and others were arrested for treason for apparently failing to give way to a presidential convoy and were detained for 127 days. The Lusaka Magistrate Court has further pushed judgment for Lusaka photographer Chela Tukuta to the 15th of July 2021. In the case, he is charged with libel against former Information and Broadcasting Services Minister Dora Selia. Tukuta, who appeared before Chief Resident Magistrate Lamik Mwale for judgment Friday, was told to appear next week, Thursday. Allegations are that on the 26th of May 2020, Tukuta published defamatory matter affecting Selia in the form of a video on Facebook, alleging that Miss Selia was a prostitute who sells girls to high-profile men for sex. In the previous court session, Tukuta was found with a case to answer and placed on defense but failed to defend himself, opting to remain silent. Self-proclaimed Patriotic Front National Commander Innocent Kalimanshi has urged youths and politicians to embrace the oneness spirit. Speaking shortly after his court appearance in a case, he is accused of 3 counts of assault and criminal trespass. Kalimanshi says it is high time politicians forgave each other and joined hands and worked together for the betterment of the country, regardless of political affiliation. Mr. Kalimanshi says this is what Zambia's late founding father, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, always wanted. Earlier, Kalimanshi's case, in which he is jointly charged with 2 others, was adjourned to the 27th of July 2021 for commencement of trial. We have more in this report.
The Lusaka's Magistrate Court Friday morning said 27th July 2021 has trialed it in a case in which self-proclaimed Patriotic Front PF National Commander Innocent Kalimanshi is accused of criminal trespass 2 months ago. In this matter, Kalimanshi, 40, of Lusaka Salama Park, is charged with 2 counts of assault and 1 count of criminal trespass, while Donat Kapamba of Chawama, James Sakala of Matero, and Samuel of Chawama are facing 1 count of criminal trespass. Allegations are that on the said date, Kalimanshi assaulted Teresa Sampa and Helen Mwansa, but denied all the allegations together with his 3 co-accused in both counts of criminal trespass and assault. The 4 allegedly stormed the Patriotic Front Secretariat during the welcoming event of former National Democratic Congress leader Chimba Kambuli to the PF on the 1st of May 2021. They are now accused of entering the Patriotic Front Secretariat with intent to annoy. Trial is expected to commence on the said date set by the court. However, speaking shortly after his court appearance, Kalimanshi urged the youths and political leaders to continue exercising peace, unity and love as the country heads towards the 12th August general elections.
Member party unga patomlandi kuri nani fyanya oninga rufyanyako onse shibati no shitagombera pamo uri onse shibati shitagombera pamo ona rufyanya wandi fyanya onse shibati no shitagombera pamo testa kurosha pamo uri onse pafyari wa pafyari station takwaba wabanga Jesus onse kwa mistake and then my mistake yes kwa testa ya kula panshi kusangishana bomba chalo pachacho sazamba stop the chama de social president chaba kuma president so wa dr bari kwete unity ya kuita pamoja sana so na ifo kunijeri ya kutoa temo wako kwa chocho chini takunga wao kushia kuna Zambia na muonze tukiwa mdaka so onse mpati
Miriam Kemba reporting for Camnet TV News.
A 16-year-old boy of Lusaka's Kanyama compound, alleged to have impregnated a 15-year-old girl of the same area, says he is not ready to marry the girl despite being forced by the girl's father that he marries her. Speaking to Camnet News, the accused boy says he is not fully convinced that he is responsible for the pregnancy, adding that he is willing to take in the child but not the mother. saying he has ambitions of going back to school if resources are made available. And when asked, the girl says she will not go back to the parents' place, saying she will only get back when she gives birth and leaves the child with the boy. We have details in the following report.
From afar, the two are children, but this 16-year-old boy and this 15-year-old former lover are about to become parents, as the 15-year-old girl is expecting a child, alleging that the 16-year-old boy is the father. Narrating to Camnet News, the boy has explained that the father to the girl forced her into their home, that he marries her after realizing that she is pregnant. The boy, however, says he is not the father to the child because he ended the relationship on 30th April 2021 and that the girl was not expecting any child by then. The boy, who stopped school in his 6th grade due to lack of finances, adds that he is not ready to marry the girl, but that if truly he is the father, he will take in the child but not its mother because he is too young and wants to go back to school if resources are made available or if any well-wisher is willing to pay for his school fees. But when asked if she is willing to marry the father of her child, the 15-year-old girl says she never wants to marry her former lover, but that she wants to remain at her boyfriend's place until the child is born. And mother to the 16-year-old boy has expressed concern, saying both her son and the girl are too young to get married as is being enforced by the father to the girl, hence seeking interventions in this matter. But not each part. Akajibana bangono timbe bakakura beni bati bakaona timaje takona bangabweza ne bakwatira na bati hapa before first afuna kwenda ku maskuru basize maskuru yao atataka bora leo kai mundu na mwana fara nyamara pia kunipele utere kala ndatura kabira. But Concerned Citizens for Justice and Human Rights Director Richard Nkuwa says it is unfortunate that some parents are still enforcing their children to get married after realizing that they have made a mistake, despite government advocating for an end to early marriages.
Not allow such a situation. As you can see, they are all juveniles and they cannot get united together as the government policy. Government policy, we are saying that we need to eliminate early marriages to zero.
And after hours of counseling by the organization, the matter has since been reported to the police for further interventions as the two parties do not seem to come to an agreement. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
The Disability Rights Watch assessment on various political parties has revealed that persons with disabilities have been included in their manifestos, but that more needs to be done to ensure policies are implemented. Organization National Coordinator Bruce Choma says political parties need to demonstrate how they will implement various issues affecting persons with cross-cutting disabilities. Mr. Choma says among priorities, politicians need to inform the nation how they will ensure inclusive access to education. We have details in this report.
As the saying goes, the wealth of the nation can only be determined by how it takes care of its underprivileged citizens. Persons living with disabilities have for a long time been deprived of their rights as enshrined in the Disability Act of 2012 and various international treaties to which Zambia is part of. The country goes to the polls on the 12th of August 2021 to elect its leaders at various levels of governance. Disability Rights Watch National Coordinator Bruce Choma reminds political party leaders to take time to explain how they will resolve disability issues such as access to education.
A number of parties especially the ruling party, the UPND, and one or two others have got specific sections that address disability as a component of the campaign manifestos. And this is important and is commendable because it's a statement of intent in terms of what they hope to do once they are given a mandate by the Zambian people to govern. Priority issues for us include the need to ensure scaled-up access to inclusive education, because people with disabilities, the majority of them don't have access to employment and business because of low literacy levels, and the education opportunities are lacking. So if we can have political parties speaking to the need to ensure that they invest in the socio-economic empowerment and education of people with disabilities and their families, that will help us a lot more to begin to deal with the historical discrimination that people with disabilities are faced in access to opportunities for them to live independently and to look after themselves and their families.
Mr. Choma says as political parties talk about their agenda for Zambia, they must demonstrate how they will address accessibility issues for marginalized citizens.
To public infrastructure such as buildings, roads, public social amenities like shopping malls and schools is enhanced so that people with disabilities are able to, as much as possible, interact freely in the environment and access essential services for their survival. It's important that political parties commit themselves to putting in place a strong implementation mechanism to ensure that all the structures coming up going forward are going to ensure that they provide services and access for people with disabilities. And this is not just about buildings, but also about transportation and communication systems as well, so that as much as possible, people with disabilities can be able to move freely. We have seen from the structure of our bus stations, intercity, and within the towns that a lot of buses that we are operating today are not even friendly for people with disabilities. And it's important for public political parties that are vying for public office to make a plan in terms of how they're going to address the accessibility needs of people with disabilities.
Persons with disabilities continue to face exclusion in political, social and economic aspects, but in reality, disability is not inability. Everyone has a role to play in advancing equality to realize equity. Patrick Soko, Camnet News.
Meanwhile, persons living with cross-cutting disabilities have lamented to Camnet TV how they feel left out of government empowerment programs countrywide. Speaking on behalf of the members, Euphrasia Rupia has called on President Edgar Lungu to convene a meeting with them so that their grievances can be heard. Ms. Rupia adds that persons with disabilities have been writing letters to the head of state seeking his attention, but no response has been received yet. Details in the following report.
In a long time now, persons living with cross-cutting disabilities have been writing to President Edgar Lungu to hold a meeting with them so they can air their grievances. While the response from the head of state does not seem to be coming anytime soon, these persons have refused to give up their wish and are once again appealing to the able leader, President Edgar Lungu, to consider coming to a table with them. Speaking on behalf of others, Euphrasia Rupia says during the presidency of the late Dr. Kaunda, persons with cross-cutting disabilities were considered a priority in all sectors, among them employment and empowerment.
We are flowers, to my flowers, ya chalo. Ngefo imama yepo bote to my flowers, ya chalo. Na ifo me to my flowers, ya chalo. We were made in the image of God. The one thing that have disability is useless. No, we are not useless to the society. We can even also contribute to the society. By His Excellency to a papa.
Ms. Rupia says government should consider building houses for persons living with cross-cutting disabilities, as such will ease their burden of paying rent, which is currently expensive.
So nango kulomba nesunga balelomba tulelomba indalama icha kusonkera inochitama 500 600 umuntu on the street. Hey la mulesa ngati nabana beswa bengi bale ba ma street kids. Mulandu wako bati ngamuna wenyina waikala mukanono amona nemidire taidondolweke. So our sure to the land to let up you by His Excellency. Please by His Excellency. At least apamutumfwe
And coordinator for persons with cross-cutting disabilities, Peter Mwamba, says it is sad to see that empowerment have been distributed to different sectors of society, but that persons living with cross-cutting disabilities have been left out.
Balechita empower ama yufi, ama junkie. Bale bapela ama minibus. Ifwe bale manata bale tupela kona nguchimo bale tupelo tuma 3,000. Ne mulimi bampeleka 3,000 oloka 2,000 fish kala nchitira. Tule ibishanya kuli ba president EDGAR chagwalungu. Ifwe bale mana twalimibika ko sana mano mwali kwa tolusi. Nombo luselu enwelo mwakwata. Katwishe fyo bachitaba ma offices tatwaishi bano balifa tulefa tumimone face to face with disabled tulande na imwe.
Indeed, disability is not inability. Prudence Chota reporting for Camnet TV News.
You're watching Camnet TV Main News. We'll take a commercial break. We'll be back with more news after the break.
From time immemorial, we have had different types of lighting options, from those that can burn down our investments in minutes to those that dig holes in our pockets due to constant replacement and huge consumption of our ZESCO units. Savenda Electric introduces the new and advanced electric bulb with cutting-edge technology of LED that has low power consumption, gives out bright white light, and lasts up to 25,000 hours. Savenda Electric manufactures all types of LED light, like plastic LED fluorescent tubes, down lights, ceiling lights, outdoor fittings, and solar street lights made to customer specifications. Let's live on the bright side of life by choosing the wide range of Savenda electric lighting solutions that are available in all leading stores and supermarkets countrywide. For orders, call 0962-642-490 or email jnbunda@savenda.com or pchabula@savenda.com.
Kumbula International Airport, located just 15 kilometers from the Victoria Falls, is now one of the best and busiest airports that Zambia has. Vote for Edgar Lungu and the PF that have brought you change.
At Master Signs, our services range from outdoor, indoor signage such as billboards, banners, 3D light boxes, pylons and neon signs. We are located at plot number 397A, Makeni Road, Lusaka, at Oryx Filling Station. For more details, call us on +260 967 100 090 or +260 966 999 981, or better still, email us at infomastersign@gmail.com. Master Sign, we will make it shine.
Every day for me means hard work, going to sell my goods at the local market. To get more customers, I have my secret. Oracle Pure Glycerin. It's soft, smooth, and keeps my skin perfect. And my customers know it. Thank you, Oracle, for my perfect skin.
Welcome back. You're watching Camnet TV Main News. A consortium of civil society organizations, among them the Center for Trade Policy, CTPD, have called upon all individuals and political parties that are aspiring for office in the forthcoming elections to share their plans regarding climate change mitigation in Zambia. Speaking during a joint virtual press conference Friday, Zambia Land Alliance Executive Director Patrick Musole notes that Zambia is a signatory to the Paris Agreement on the adaptation and mitigation of climate change with a commitment to the nationally determined contributions, NDCs. He says these, among other policies on climate change, still remain an aspiration as they are still lagging, hence the need for political office bearers to tell the nation what they will do in this sector. We have details in the following report.
For
a long time now, many stakeholders have called for the diversification of the agriculture sector, as the current focus on maize has left many other cash crops not being utilized as much as they should, a situation which has proven unsustainable owing to the recognition of the fact that climate change-related disasters have continued to negatively affect social and economic development in Zambia and have had adverse effects on the agriculture sector. This is according to the Center for Trade Policy and Development, CTPD, Zambia Land Alliance, ZLA, and the Adventist Development and Relief Agency. Speaking during a joint virtual press briefing held on the 9th of July 2021, the aforementioned stakeholders have called on those aspiring for public office in the forthcoming general elections to share their plans regarding climate change mitigation in Zambia.
Zambia, like many other countries, have been facing adverse effects of climate change. The environmental extremes that come with climate change affect the vulnerable members of our society the most. A case in point is that of Gwembe district in Southern Province, where climate change poses a threat to the food security and livelihoods of the people.
Further adding their voice, CTPD says there is need for office bearers to come up with practical, deliberate policies and programs aimed at addressing the climate challenges that climate change poses on people's lives.
And to challenge them to look at, analyze their PAT manifestos and ensure that they address issues that are of concern or an interest to us, but more importantly to the people of Zambia.
On the other hand, the Zambia Land Alliance has therefore called on attaining sustainable and climate-resilient livelihoods, as there is need for people in rural areas whose lives depend on agriculture, done on customary land, to have access and legal rights to land in order to allow them to leverage their land to access finance and address the issues pertaining to poverty as a result of climate change.
Our appeal, therefore, is that agriculture budget be realigned towards promoting crop diversification and livestock production, stimulating smallholder livestock production and trade, such as goat production and trade. Adequate investments should be made into improving access to extension services, veterinary services, and markets. To address issues around attaining sustainable and climate-resilient livelihoods, there is need for people in rural areas whose lives depend on agriculture to be done on customary land to have access and legal rights to land. Having secured land tenure will facilitate smallholder farmer sustained agriculture production and also allow them to leverage on their land to access finance.
Lisedi Kanyanga Mubanga, Camnet TV News in Lusaka.
A social scientist, Innocent Kolala, lamented that the current social and economic challenges being faced in the country are not unique to Zambia but across the globe, and that they have been compounded by the COVID-19 pandemic. Speaking with Camnet TV, Mr. Kolala says that unless Zambia reduces the importation of goods and services through industrialization, the situation is likely to remain the same. Mr. Kolala notes that Zambia continues to rely on copper exports, a development he said undermines Zambia's trade portfolio, thus calling for a diversified export strategy. He says in order to cope with the current economic challenges, the citizens must adopt alternative measures and live within their means amid slow economic growth.
For this effect, this kind of economy, we expect it to be in the manner it is. We thank God for our able government for having ensured that they made sure that they pumped in terms of agriculture, where they gave, of course, the farming inputs, and we have food on the table. We are going to have bumper harvest, which is going to help us at least meet some of the basic needs. And we thank God, especially now, that even the cost of a bag of 50 kg of beans is going to cost as high as 150 kwacha. This is a plus because it's going to boost to the farmer by ensuring that actually they even cultivate more. And to my fellow Zambians, this is the time now we are supposed to come out of at blanket, where we were always looking at the government for the government to come and put even a lump of inshima in our mouth. This is the time now to start thinking out of the box by ensuring that behind our backyard we need to put up something there. For example, a garden. Not only the garden, we can put up something, and with that it is going to help us in ensuring that we meet some of the challenges of our economy.
The Federation of Free Trade Unions of Zambia, FFTUZ, has implored workers to preserve and adopt new means of survival in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. Speaking with Camnet News, FFTUZ President Chingati Msiska says the workers are having challenges to changes such as working from home. Mr. Msiska says sometimes there are no adequate tools to use compared to the office space, thus affecting effective service provision. He has, however, encouraged workers to continue adjusting to innovative ways of working amidst the COVID-19 limitations.
There is this now issues of rotation. Each and every institution is affected. People are operating from home. There are no tools at certain times. The people are not engaged full time because of maybe the COVID, the COVID itself. So there are a lot of things that have happened. But again, things haven't been the way they are supposed to be. So we want to state here that, it's not business as usual. Let's be productive. As much as this, we can have that few hours to work, few hours to respond to whatever intelligently. We want to appeal to our members that let us follow the COVID guideline, the health guideline that has been given. Social distancing, masking up. Let's not have a lot of, finding ourselves into these large gatherings and the like. Let's protect ourselves. It's for our life. It's for our own good. So, as much as there is economic hardship, let's see to it that we do that which we can do well and do it effectively.
Agricultural experts at the University of Zambia, UNZA, have called on government to consider empowering farmers and training them using latest technology in order to engage in goat rearing. Speaking in an exclusive interview with Camnet TV, Farao Sianangama and Oswin Chibinga, who are lecturers of agriculture science at the University of Zambia, say Zambia has for a long time failed to meet the demand for goats from countries such as Saudi Arabia, as the country has been depending on goats to breed naturally, which is a slow process. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in 2018 offered Zambia a market to export 1 million goats per annum, which the country, however, failed to meet. We have details in this report.
Zambia has for a long time now tried to expand its exports in order to stop depending on copper as its main export product so as to gain economic freedom. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in 2018 offered the country an export market of 1 million goats per annum. The country, however, failed to meet this goal due to low production of goats. Lecturers at the University of Zambia, UNZA, have suggested using latest technologies in order to increase breeding among goats. Farao Sianangama and also in Chibinga, who are lecturers of agriculture science, say government should also empower farmers to ensure that goats are reared on a large scale. They state that depending on goats to breed naturally is a slow process.
Doing agriculture, even livestock farming, the olden ways of leaving them to reproduce on their own is a gone-by thing. We need to go into what our colleagues are doing now. Improve by including technology. What technologies can we start adopting that will enable these goats perform at levels that will allow us to meet the numbers we are talking about? For example, if we simply bring in issues of synchronizing them, we can make sure they reproduce when we want them to reproduce. It's pointless to have goats dropping kids in August, in September. There's no feed around. What will they eat? They won't even grow as fast as they should. So we need to be in control of all processes of reproduction. So include some technologies.
The country hopes to become self-sustaining by 2030.
The demand for goats is very high, even within the country as well as outside the country. Demand was so much, but productivity in the country has been low. One of the main reasons is because most people they do goat rearing just as by the way. You buy a few goats, You put them on the farm. You don't look at what do you need to do for those goats to multiply. Those things are very important in terms of feeding. They need to be well fed. In terms of the male-female ratio, you cannot just throw in goats there. You are not managing them very well. What we need to do is to put in a lot of effort and see how we can manage these goats.
Zipporah Mushala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
You're watching Camnet TV News. We'll take another break. We'll be back with international and sports news.
I was born in Wengwa in a grass-thatched house. I went to school barefoot and then to secondary school, university camp, all of these on government bursary, on the sponsorship of the people of Zambia. Many people ask me questions. Why have you continued to seek public office? You've been arrested 15 times. This fight is not about Hakainde. It's about 18 million Zambians who want a better life. I'm standing for the presidency of this country because I know and I believe that this country is so rich and yet its people live in poverty. I am standing for that child to have an opportunity to go to school the way I did myself. It's time for change. Zambians have suffered enough. I'm Hakainde H. Lema. I invite you to take my hand. Together, we will build a better life for every Zambian.
Good day to you, our dear esteemed customers. As Zamtel, we're glad to bring something of excitement to you, and it's a promotion we've dubbed Yatu, which simply means it's yours. And in this promotion, we're giving benefits that are tailored to you specifically as a customer, depending on the profile or the segment that you're sitting on as a customer. And in this promotion, we are saying you will get from as low as 13 benefits amounting to over 500%. And it's all for you so that you get more benefits. So to know more about Yatu, stay on.
Yatu is a promotion that offers Zamtel customers amazing benefits that are made just for you. Zamtel customers will get amazing benefits of over 500% bonus back the value that they use when they subscribe to a Yatu offer. Yatu benefits will be usable for Zamtel to Zamtel calls, Zamtel to Zamtel SMSs, and browsing on pay-as-you-go defined rates. For you to access the amazing Yatu offers, all you have to do is dial *335# and select option 1 to purchase the offer that best suits you. Zamtel customers will have the ability to actually purchase the Yatu benefit more than once. So this means you can purchase the offer twice, you can purchase the offer 3 times, and the benefits will be accumulative at the end of the day. Yatu benefits will be able to be redeemed if you subscribe to the same offer within a 5-day period. So if you have unused benefits from the previous day and the expiry date comes, you can still subscribe to the same offer within 5 days and your benefits will be able to accumulate. How amazing is that? For you to check your Yatu benefit balance, all you have to do is dial *335# and select option 2 and you'll be able to see your current balance.
In this fast-paced era of industrial boom and population growth, there is need to invest in smart ways of managing electricity and water consumption and reducing utility billing costs associated with the postpaid billing system. At Savenda Electronics, we manufacture right here in Zambia different types of high-quality smart electricity and water meters to customer specifications. Savenda Electronics water and electricity meters help you monitor your usage and gives notifications such as low units, tampering, low battery, and many other features. These easy-to-use meters makes it easier to buy units even in these COVID times and top up just from the comfort of your space. Favorable contract terms are available to both electricity and water utilities. For more details, get in touch with us on the following numbers: 0956 580 349 or 0977 498 318. Savenda Electronics, the real deal.
President Edgar Lungu and the Patriotic Front have transformed the transportation sector by facilitating the construction of bus stations around the country. Vote for Edgar Chagwa Lungu and the PF that have brought you change.
Welcome back. We now look at international news. It has been 10 years since South Sudan gained independence from Sudan to become the world's youngest nation, yet few citizens are rejoicing. The oil-rich country has been marred by fighting that killed nearly 400,000 people and displaced millions. A humanitarian crisis and a fragile peace deal are making it difficult for many to move forward. In other news, police in Haiti say 2 Haitian Americans and more than 20 Colombians were behind the assassination of President Jovenel Moise. The Colombian government says early investigations suggest that some of the men involved were retired members of its military. Moise was shot dead during a raid at his home on Wednesday. Some of the suspects have been identified, but officials are still looking for at least 8 others. We have a roundup of international news.
John Cox says his people voting overwhelmingly to secede from Sudan 10 years ago wasn't a mistake. It's what happened to South Sudan afterwards that broke him. The war in 2013, then another round of fighting in 2016, has left him traumatized.
It was not only 2013, where our colleagues, my brother, were killed. Even during this struggle, my brothers, they were also killed. So when it repeats itself, it was horrible.
Things are now relatively calm. Unlike previous peace deals that failed, some people hope the unity government set up last year will hold. It saw former rebel leader Riek Machar sworn in as first vice president, along with 4 other vice presidents. President Salva Kiir and Machar are once again trying to work together until elections in 2023. Politicians hope this transitional period encourages refugees and internally displaced people to return to their homes. Thousands of people live here, and this is just one of many camps across South Sudan. There's no running water and not enough food. Many families say they don't know how long they're going to be here, and going home for several of them is not an option because of insecurity in some parts of the country. Add to that floods, droughts, and intercommunal violence. Children born after independence have never known peace. Aid workers say the humanitarian crisis is worsening.
These are some of our greatest concerns. Certainly there's a food insecurity crisis in South Sudan. 1.4 million children are going to be malnourished this year, the highest number in years.
Key parts of the peace agreement are still to be implemented. These include establishing a unified national army made up of opposition and government forces.
The people of South Sudan are telling their leadership that, look, we are tired of war. Nobody wants war anymore. If there are some few political leaders who think that they will go and mobilize some of our citizens so that they cause a fight because they want to be leaders of this country, I don't think they will get the audience from the public.
The new coalition government is trying to rebuild, focusing on various developmental and infrastructure projects. As new buildings go up in some parts of the country, uniting a bitterly divided nation, building trust and making sure it's safe enough for everyone affected by conflict to return home is going to be much more difficult. Haru Matasa, Al Jazeera, Juba.
Police in Haiti say 2 Haitian Americans and more than 20 Colombians are behind the assassination of President Jovenel Moise. Colombia's government says early investigations suggest that some of the men involved were retired members of its military. Moise was shot dead during a raid at his home on Wednesday. Some of the suspects have been identified, but officials are still looking for at least 8 others. Paddy Colhane reports.
A very public display in Port-au-Prince. Police load 2 men into the bed of a pickup truck, saying they may be a part of the armed gang that allegedly assassinated President Jovenel Moise, later paraded in front of the press. Outside of the police station where several suspects are being held, an angry crowd gathered, demanding the suspects be turned over to them.
Those guys killed the president. We are going to make them suffer now that the police have found them and taken them to jail. We want them to burn today.
The Haitian police chief said that 28 attackers have been identified, 26 Colombians and 2 Americans of Haitian descent. He said 8 were still on the run and 3 had been killed. And in a surprising turn, the Colombian defense minister acknowledged some of the suspects had been in the Colombian army.
In response to the assassination of the Haitian president, today Interpol has officially requested information from the Colombian government and the national police about the alleged perpetrators of this act. Initially, the information indicates they are Colombian citizens, retired members of the National Army. We've given instructions by the national government to our police and the army to collaborate in the investigation to clarify these facts immediately. Our public force is fully at the disposition of the sister Republic of Haiti.
This is all unfolding among a political backdrop of confusion about who is actually in charge.
Well, first I would say that it is our view, and we continue to call for elections to happen this year, and we believe they should proceed. We know that free and fair elections will facilitate a peaceful transfer of power to a newly elected president, and we certainly continue to support Haiti's democratic institutions.
Moise had been ruling by decree after the majority of parliament was dissolved in January last year. Now both Claude Joseph and Ariel Henry, both senior politicians, claim they are in charge. Haiti, a desperately poor country where the coronavirus is spreading, violence is surging, and political uncertainty rules the day, and now an international mystery of who assassinated the 53-year-old president and why. Patty Culhane, Al Jazeera, Washington.
We did not go to Afghanistan to nation build. And it's the right and the responsibility of the Afghan people alone to decide their future and how they want to run their country.
And Franz Marti has more from Kabul.
As the past weeks have shown, more than 150 districts have fallen, so in certain areas, certainly not. It has to be qualified, though, that in many districts there wasn't much fighting. Very often government forces left without any fighting or without much fighting, without being forced out. So the statement that President Biden made, that the government forces are better equipped, militarily better trained, might be right, but in certain instances, due to other reasons, probably psychological ones, that the Afghan government had a sense of abandoning, or the troops thought they wouldn't be supplied. They then withdrew, and this led to the fall of this many districts. So it's kind of a split judgment.
It's now time for sports news. In sports news, soccer fans in Lusaka have called for the dismissal of the CHIPOLOPOLO coach Micho for allegedly failing to put up a good squad in the ongoing COSAFA Cup Championship. Zambia was beaten by Lesotho 2-1, which has angered fans. Those interviewed by Camnet Sport stated that they are disappointed at yesterday's performance, where Zambia lost against Lesotho in the tournament, and are looking forward to the upcoming game.
Following Thursday's outcome of the ongoing COSAFA Cup Championship 2021 being hosted in South Africa, some soccer fans in Lusaka are demanding improved performance from the CHIPOLOPOLO boys. Some soccer fans have called for the dismissal of the national team coach Mitchell for allegedly failing to put up a good squad to effectively compete in the ongoing COSAFA tournament.
For us to do a post-mortem and just go back to drawing board, because losing to Lesotho is just unacceptable. I think we can do better. We have a good coach, we have good quality players, but we just need to find where are we going wrong. Things are just not well somewhere, somehow, but it's very disappointing. And hope that against the team on Saturday, but there is a serious need for us to do a post-mortem.
The fans have underscored the need to come with a strong team if the country is to qualify for World Cup.
Zambia is better than Lesotho. So kuluza kama which means qualifier tukupa singakwanisa initially. Because Thomas is bad money. Unless ngati qualify which means nguchinya squad yetu zinayomaina kapena hichi.
Performance wa Zambia is very poor. Deni na coach kapena ikirego nzero.
Bapalinkani ya bola ya Zambia. Ine chingani baba ndinokwiya namanje nkali okwiya. Sure after reading sure tizashita bwanji wa Zambia. Ndiye kama titizaenda kwa World Cup, I'm telling you. Tige konzero please. Nishini coach ni ndani.
Soccer is a unifying sport and highly loved by Zambians. Seeing the national team to perform win matches remains the aspiration of many citizens. Blessings Shakwila, Camnet News, Lusaka.
That sports story brings us to the end of the news. But before we go, we'll take a look at the stories making headlines once again. President Edgar Lungu criticized for his MTENDERE Township tour amid COVID-19. Court orders HH to make progress in his treason case against Attorney General or have the matter dismissed. A 16-year-old boy forced to marry a 16-year-old girl calls for help. And in international news, Haiti police blame US and Colombian suspects in president's slaying. At sports news, soccer fans in Lusaka call for the dismissal of CHIPOLOPOLO coach after a 2-1 loss against Lesotho. The Camnet New World verse for the day is coming from Isaiah 41, verse 12 to 13, and it reads, "You will look for those who contend with you, but you will not find them. Those who war against you will become absolutely nothing. For I, Yahweh, your God, hold your right hand and say to you, do not fear, I will help you." My name is Jeffrey Ziambo, and thanks for watching Camnet News. Bye-bye.